All right. Welcome, everybody, to this episode 127 of the Thoughttium Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I am your host, Anthony Ewing, CEO and founder here at Thoughttium. And I am joined by Miss Madison Wright, founder of Madberet. And we'll do a proper introduction here in a moment. But we want to welcome everybody, all of our communities, to the Navigating Now roundtable series. We are so fortunate and so grateful to be able to bring you new perspective every week, each Thursday at 3 o'clock Central. We want to welcome those folks who are tuning in from all of our social media platforms, particularly those folks who tune in via LinkedIn. We are so grateful to be going live on LinkedIn, and most of our community lives on LinkedIn. So welcome to the show. 127 episodes in, and we are on this continuous path of celebrating and highlighting entrepreneurs, business leaders that have real perspective. And we have an incredible leader in our community, also a family member of ours, really a Thoughttium family member in Madison Wright. She is the founder of Madberet, and she's going to be talking about this process of really committing to your business in new ways. And Madison's had to do that in a few exciting ways over the last few years. She's going to tell you about Madberet. She's going to tell you about her journey in building Madberet and all of the incredible work that she is up to in running her business. So Madison, welcome to the roundtable and welcome to the Small Business Strong community.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. When you said I was a part of the family, I used to work for Thougtium. Yes. Just as of November, I went full-time with Madberet. So I've been on Navigating Now previously as a team member, and it's so special to be joining here as now a business owner and part of the small business community.
That is true. You have hosted this show before. Yeah, absolutely. So you're not a stranger to the mic or the camera. Or our family here. In fact, we have an office here in Chicago, downtown Fulton Market. And we are on the third floor. Madberet is on the second floor.
We are directly above my office right now. So
we have yet to communicate by stomping our feet.
I hope they don't try.
Yeah, but WeWork has been just an incredible partner for small businesses like Thoughttium and Madberet. And as well, it really meant a lot for us to know that you weren't even physically going far as you ventured out and continue to pour yourself into your business. So Madison, before we dive into the topic at hand, tell us a little bit about Madberet and what you're up to as the founder of Madberet.
Happy to do that. So Madberet is a fine jewelry company. What we create is engagement rings, wedding bands, and then everyday pieces that you can wear. The beauty of fine jewelry is that these are the pieces that you can wear every day, and with the right care, you can have these pieces for the rest of your life. So what's really special about this is the relationship that we have with people when we're making something as important as an engagement ring or your wedding bands. I have the opportunity to get so close with people, creating something that represents a very important chapter in their life, and not just wedding related, but everyday pieces. People will buy those to celebrate themselves. So that's really why Madberet exists and why I love this work so much.
Yeah, and we've been just so fortunate to be able to see your journey as you have evolved as a business leader and as you've poured more into Madberet. As Madison mentioned, she was a previous employee of Thougtium. We have just such a special story of Madison joining the team, very quickly making a huge impact within our team as well as our client community, finding a real voice within the firm that really guided and influenced the firm in so many ways. And then made the ultimate decision to take a lot of the experience and talent that you've developed, not just here at Thougtium, but in your career, and pour it into a business of your own. That's absolutely the way that Thougtium started as well, too. I started as a solopreneur and was working for larger firms, then worked for smaller firms and started to cut my teeth in terms of what it takes to build and run a small business. And I was always reverse engineering, building something of my own. And I'm curious, Madison, how early did you know that Madberet or something like it was going to exist? And I want to challenge you to go like as far back as you possibly can, because I know you've got some cool childhood stories.
Okay, sure. So typically I start this story of when I was working in a jewelry store in grad school. I had a lot of insights that I was able to develop in conjunction with being at business school. So I was learning things in business school while I was working at a jewelry company that was really doing an amazing job at experiential retail and connecting with customers. So that's usually where I start this story. If we were to go further back, my parents have an incredible story. I think of kindergarten or first grade. I loved getting dressed for school. I loved putting an outfit together, and it was the best part of my day. None of it looked good, but it was eccentric and fun. And I love the process of styling myself. One morning, my dad walked in at 3 a.m. He had woken up to hear noises, and I had completely put together my outfit for the day, and I was dressed in it at 3 a.m. because I was so excited to wake up and to style myself and get ready for the day. And he was like, okay, do we put her back to sleep in this outfit? Do we go back to pajamas? Like, at this hour, what do we do? So I would say that was definitely my earliest inclination for, I just really love the process of styling and putting fun things together. Where I think then I always loved jewelry as a part of that, but where that really started to come to life a bit more was I was very deep into the world of ceramics when I was in high school.
Right, yes.
Yeah. And within that ceramics class, there are lots of things that catch on fire, including a torch to make beads. And so one segment of that was creating glass beads. So we got to hammer metals and create glass beads and all of that. And so then I really got my first introduction into creating jewelry. I still love ceramics more. What I loved about ceramics was structure and form and detail. And that's really where I excelled in that art. So I didn't go much further with jewelry at that time because I loved the other thing more, but that was definitely, and then I started selling some of my pieces at different local craft fairs. And this was when I was about 16. So I saw the creating something beautiful with my love and attention, making some money, connecting with people and telling them about my process by meeting people at those craft fairs. So I would say that's when the wheels started to turn for me, that I really like the creative aspect, love making money off of it. I love connecting with people. And that was, I think, the first time those kind of triangulated.
All of the key ingredients. And so, it was with a little bit of that inkling that you had that you developed this passion for what you do now. But there was a significant period of time, post college that you spent seemingly in a completely different world. And it's interesting how we all tend to go back to those experiences that we were passionate about as kids after we've gone out and we've gotten a little bit of experience and we've cut our teeth. So tell us a little bit about, the work that you were doing at Thatium, because Thatium is not a fine jewelry company.
Nope. Nowhere close.
As much as we could be one day. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe. We're a client services organization. We design and deliver experiences. Traditionally we're a consulting company. Tell us about that work for you. And, were you starting to kind of tie what you were doing here at Thatium to how it could ultimately support your true vision?
Yes. On the surface level, it did look like I was deep into consulting. Beneath that,
the real truth comes out.
The real truth comes out, which, Anthony, you did not know when you hired me. And for that, I apologize, but it's all worked out.
It did.
So, as I mentioned, the real spark for me was actually when I was working at a jewelry store while I was in business school. I was one of the only students that was working a lot. I had a lot of hours there because I was supporting myself. Very few other students at the time had jobs that they were working as well. And so I got to work at this very great at the retail experience component and bring so much of that into my marketing classes and into conversations. And I had, real-time experience where I was translating that. And I just really loved connecting with customers and educating them on the, why to go with fine jewelry rather than going with costume jewelry or fashion jewelry, which is typically gold plated or silver or something. So I was falling in love with that. And I knew at that point that I was lit up. I was excited. This could definitely be a career path I would like to take. But when I was looking into entry roles in jewelry companies, I wasn't exactly seeing something that was as exciting for me or that would be a good fit with, coming out of business school. So what did happen definitely by happenstance, was that I ended up working at a company that specializes in learning and leadership in corporations. And I kind of fell into that, and it happened to be a very good career opportunity with, and this is what's important, a salary that I would be able to put away savings to eventually pursue jewelry. And so I got into consulting because I interviewed well for the job. It was a good opportunity and it had a good salary, and I could piece together what I needed to one day start my fine jewelry company. So I had my mind made up at 21. It took until I was 25 until I actually started that company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what we experienced with your time here at Thoughttium was that, well, I should say, maybe I'll speak to what we didn't experience. We did not experience you here with as kind of a means to an end.
Mm-mm.
What we experienced was that you were applying the skills that you inevitably were going to pour into your business in every nook and cranny of Thoughttium that you possibly could. And that has everything to do with the way that you interacted with clients, the kind of white glove treatment, the design aspect of what we do here every day. And as you continue to build confidence in those areas, it was an investment in yourself, but it was also really showing up as huge value for our firm. And this is where I think there's this incredibly kind of mutually beneficial relationship that exists with folks within organizations that maybe have a little bit more of an end game, but are truly applying and tapping into those skills that they want to develop for that end game in a world that benefits their current employer.
Yeah.
And that was a journey, for us. And it's interesting. Like, I want to pause and acknowledge that journey. I think about even the relationship, Madison, that you and I had as you came into Thoughttium. I probably didn't know the first of what was really going on in terms of some of the background planning and the reverse engineering that you were doing. And at the same time, I have been in your shoes.
Yep. Yeah.
And I know what it's like to have something that you're so passionate about and that is right around the corner, but to also have a real conscience of like, I also want to pour into the people that I'm working with here. And it's a challenge. It really is a struggle. And you and I worked very closely together over the course of the few years that you were here. And I feel like it was a learning experience for both of us. So let's talk about maybe some of those, lessons learned on each side. And maybe you can share like, what was the biggest lesson that you learned, while you knew that Madberet was going to be something, your ultimate, but you knew it was just a matter of time. And like, what were some of those lessons learned while you were here at Thoughttium?
Yeah, I do want to get into the lessons learned. I also want to just reflect on some of the things that you shared, which was we do a values exercise with the team. And one of my values is pride. We all know that pride can be a double-edged sword, but in the workplace, pride really demonstrates itself as really caring about your work. And anything that my name was on or my fingers had touched, I cared passionately about it. That pride and desire to create something great is probably what led me to creating my own company, but it also led me to really trying to do my best work here as well. So as well as
that's a value that we all wear on our sleeves here at Thoughttium.
What?
Pride.
Yes.
And pride for the great work. Yeah.
Yeah. So it absolutely worked that was one of my values that I could bring to the team. But I also recognize that any experience where you're being challenged, you're working with others at this point in Thoughttium, you were still working on really shaping how the brand was experienced by other people. And you all had started a business at that point 4 years before. And so I was getting to work with entrepreneurs. So I was not blind to the fact, and I know I said I definitely needed a salary to save for this fine jewelry company, but I was also with a group of people who had started a business, who had a focus on brand, who had a focus on the human experience, and definitely who I like to work with. So that was a really I wanted to do great work here. And it wasn't just a paycheck. And part of my journey has been working for a very long time not a very long time. I recognize it's, I'm in my late 20s. That's not, it hasn't been forever. But working hard, saving money, working full time while also starting my business, it wasn't just for the salary. It was very much because I did ultimately find passion in that work. And if I couldn't have continued to work full time and build my company if I didn't care about the work that I was doing, because it's very tiring to do both. It's very hard. So you do have to have some level of, I'm happy with the team that I'm on. I like the work that I want to do. What I really felt was, I like the work here at Thoughteum, but what I want to be doing in the next 20 years is creating my own fine jewelry company. Sure. So I'm happy with where I am. And I think if there's someone in the position of, I hate my job, I hate my employer, that is why I want to start my own company so I don't have to deal with this anymore, then you might feel that like fire to get you out the door before you're ready, or to go full time with your company before that company is ready to support you. Yeah. Or maybe you could find a place where you could be a part of that, a different company where you're a lot happier. And maybe you realize, maybe I don't want to take on all of the burdens of starting a business. Sure. So if someone is looking to start a business while working full time, I highly encourage you to find a great employer where you don't feel like you're running out the door or running away from your current employment. And so that's what I found here was, I was happy here. You know, the only reason why I had to leave was because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do both jobs anymore. Yeah. Madberet grew too big. Yeah. But there certainly wasn't like a timeline for when I knew I had to leave with Madberet or I wanted to. It happened that eventually the work got, I didn't have a 2 or 3 year plan. It just so happened that it grew to a point that it was an appropriate time for me to go.
I don't think it's a coincidence that there was a point in time where your career at Thoughteum took off. Mm-hmm. And you moved into more of a position of leadership. You took more of a position of leadership. You became more excited about being out front and applying your own style to, our kind of ecosystem that we're building here. And I don't think it was. I don't think it's coincidence that it was the same point that you became also very transparent with us about what you wanted from your career. Yep. Both here at Thoughteum and beyond. And that was one of the biggest kind of ahas for me as a business owner, is that there could be such an incredible sense of transparency and trust and autonomy in these conversations about your dreams and your aspirations. And that's not just a responsibility that we have or a space that we need to hold for our employees. Yes, it is. But that also can be and ignite incredible growth within individuals who are working for your firm. Yep. And, it's funny. I am not in my late 20s. No. But at the same time, again, I've been in your shoes. I maybe come more from a world where you kind of throw your blind faith at your employer and you enroll, you kind of drink the Kool-Aid, and that allows you to become a leader within a firm. I think we're in a world today where we're clearly more so accounting for everybody's entire being, not just the person that exists here at Thoughteum, but the person that is passionate about things outside of Thoughteum. And even more than that, particularly Norm and I, as we've led this firm over the last 6 years, we have learned, and myself particularly, that if you can tap into that sense of autonomy, that sense of passion that somebody has, not just for their work here, but outside, it is so mutually beneficial. Yeah. And, let's be real, like that transparency happened over the course of like a few conversations that were very new to me and also very new to you.
I was so nervous to tell my employer of less than a year that I would like to go full time with this company that I've started on the side. One day, I don't know when, but one day. And that conversation had to happen because you all followed Madberet on Instagram and I talked about what I was doing. And it was starting to go from what appeared to be, maybe to an outside observer, a hobby or an interest, into, no, this is a business. And I could feel those things happening. People around me could pick up on that, right? Or, if you were to run into my fiance, Dan, and you had a conversation with him, he might let it slip that, Madison's planning on, you never know. Yeah. Like if something is a part of your life that is out there in the world, then it is nice to have transparent conversations. Having that with, again, my employer of less than a year was scary. But I was starting to get a sense, just like you described, that I was really starting to bring real value and insights and just benefits to the Thoughteum team. And so I almost had the confidence of, I'm so confident in the work that I'm doing here. The team really values me. What I didn't have a fear that you were going to say, you're fired. You can't work here anymore. You can't have two interests, because I was confident in the work that I was bringing forward. And so, as you described, it was definitely that two-way benefit of, I was very confident in the work that I was bringing forward. You were happy with the work that I was bringing forward. You didn't want to lose that.
Yeah.
It was a conversation of, well, how can we make both things work for both of us?
Yeah.
And you saying, I've been on this journey. I know what it feels like to be
Building
so hungry for
Yeah.
something that you're building it from the ground up. And so I do think that I almost knew that that's how you would respond because of how you had built Thoughteum. I would have been surprised if, I was let go 2 weeks after. So it was just, you have built a space where people can come and talk to you about, hey, this is who I am beyond just my work.
Yep.
And this is ultimately where I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just was such a growing opportunity. For me as a leader, I probably learned more in that process than I ever had as a people leader, because it wasn't just a matter of time and resources. It was a matter of really learning how to truly support people. And, I want to thank you for bringing that sense of confidence and that sense of authenticity that you did to your role here at Thoughteum. I know I am not the only one who's learned from being in relationship with you, as a professional and even as a friend. And I know that that's what you do every day at Madberet. So let's talk a little bit about Madberet. This was an idea of yours years ago. It is now a full-fledged living, breathing business that you are, need I remind you, full-time.
Yeah.
Focused on. So tell us a little bit about, what's good at Madberet, and what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Okay. This has been such an interesting new chapter, because to start a business, you need this fire in your belly that's like, I have this idea, I have this passion, that this is what I want to build my career around. And you're so hungry for it. And I started taking all the online courses on how to start a business and learning about branding, and somehow finding people to create jewelry for me, which, by the way, if anyone's interested in starting a jewelry company, it is so hard to find someone who will say, I will take a chance on you and spend time creating the designs that you've made. Because if you haven't designed jewelry before, then you don't really necessarily know all the contingencies on what goes into a design. You might be asking for something that they know won't work, or you make one collection with them and then you never get the business off the ground and they never work with you again. So it's a big, I would say, time component for basically a jeweler to really pick you up. So I had to go, I probably reached out to 50 people until I found one or two jewelers who would work with me and take a risk on someone who had no business getting into jewelry. Anyway, so where it is right now is I did have that fire in my belly to do all of those things, to reach out to 50 people until someone would work with me, start the website, advance, our custom design services, just really grow the business presence every single day on social media for 2 years, while also working at Thoughteum. And that was such a mountain to climb. And so then when I went full-time in November, I had the holiday season, which was so exciting. And then after the holiday season, things slowed down, which at first I was terrified of because, and it's only your third month relying on your business as your income, and things slow down, you freak out a little bit, but what I realized was that I really need to recharge. Those over 2 years of growing a business and working full time, I was grateful after a couple of weeks that business was slow and I was going to yoga and reading books and cooking and all of that, because I could have dived in at the start of this year and said, I am going to create this amazing marketing plan and do all of these things and go, 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 go. But what I've realized, definitely January, February, I actually needed to slow down and recover from like that insane chapter. And now I'm really at a place where I am feeling that like fire in my belly again. And I am thinking about, what are the crazy things I want to accomplish in the next couple of years? What does the future of the business look like? But I was surprised in January and February that I was like, I mean, don't want to work that hard right now.
Just several months into, going all in, and you have the, awareness, or maybe in this case, like the necessity of slowing down. That's incredible.
And I think it's a different story from if someone were quit their job and then started a company. Then at that point you have that fire in your belly.
For sure.
But I had done that long, slow climb to be able to go full time with Madberet, and it's almost like I had put in the legwork to at least enjoy 2 months of business as usual, thinking about different projects, but really not putting pedal to the metal on anything big. And now after that, I am so excited about the next few projects that we'll be working on. So
isn't at the end of the day, entrepreneurship, learning who you are as a person, learning who you are as an entrepreneur, and then trying to close the gap between the two?
Yes. Right. And then there's an interesting component of I am the representative of my business, which is mostly me. Could be different though. It's a very refined version of me. My friends, you all know that I'm very goofy. And goofy, playful, has a bit of a role in selling fine jewelry. Not too much of a role though. You want confidence, respectability, refinedness. That's what you want in your experience buying jewelry. So there's who I'm representing myself as a representative of Madberet. There is who I am with my closest friends and family. There's different ways that you show up in different environments.
But I just feel like, again, entrepreneurship is this kind of like long journey back to yourself. I think most of our, most of our entrepreneurial journeys start with that, like, we dive all in, we go all in. And oftentimes we lose a certain sense of our own identity in that, need to focus exclusively on our business. And sometimes that means at the risk of taking a couple months slow, self-care, investing in or starting a family. All of these things are sometimes deprioritized so that you can get a business off the ground. And just, kind of the basic life cycle of a business, I do think 3, 4, 5 years in, you do start to get to a point, and you're several years in now as well too, where you start to realize at the end of the day, this business is only sustainable if I can truly be myself. And sometimes that means being goofy in a world where I need to look refined. Sometimes that means taking some time off a couple of months in. And that's definitely a process and a season that I myself am going through right now as well. Is you have to continue to account for who you truly are, and you need to continue to come back to that. And the sweet part is, the more you do that, the more your business actually thrives, which is something none of us get in a world where it's nose to the grindstone, just work harder.
Yep. You realize actually that working harder and harder isn't going to be netting those results that you're really hoping to achieve. You really do need to take a step back and say, how can I show up in my best way? What's actually working here? Like, I think that there's a lot of pushback on hustle culture right now, and the go, and try your best and always be improving. But there's so much in taking a step back, and especially in the case of Madberet, what is the most important part of this business? What in this business is resonating the most with people? What's the intersection of what's resonating with people as well as what I really like to do? And so if I were to go, full throttle on all aspects of what I imagine that Madberet could be, my broader collection, more affordable pieces, more expensive pieces, custom designs, wedding designs, I could be doing all of that across the board, but I'm really trying to get a pulse from what are other people loving from Madberet, and what am I loving as well? And like finding that intersection. And to what you're talking about of getting back to yourself, how am I also putting that away, which I didn't put Madberet away because anytime I had free from working, I was working on Madberet, but now Madberet is my main work.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm also learning how to close that and to just be present with my fiance or with my friends or with my family, or invest in myself, let's say with a, physical goal or something like that. So it's those, what's working with Madberet, but then also what do I need outside of that work as well.
And this question is for maybe those folks who, are considering starting a business and going all in, taking the leap, if you will. What's one thing that, you were worried about prior to taking the leap that maybe wasn't as big of an issue once you did?
Yes. So I was worried about that January that I had this year, which was lower revenue than I had in any month in 2022, which was like, well, I'm full time with this. I shouldn't have a low month. But I went full time so that I could build the business that is sustainable. My expectation shouldn't have been as soon as I'm full time,
it's up and to the right.
It's up and to the right. Every bill is covered. We're good to go. And so I think that was a big realization. And also within that was that it's not just on me. I do have an amazing fiance who helped me with a couple bills in January and who supported me. You don't need to have an amazing partner. You can do this solo. You started Thoughteum solo and brought on Norm. But I was like, oh, I do have, it was a shock to me that I had someone who supported me like that. And I was so grateful. But in my head, I was like, I need to be able to keep myself afloat, only me, only the business, without realizing like, hey, well, Dan's here. Worst comes to worst, I could call my friends or I could call my family.
Yep.
And, or if I have one really shitty month, I can make up for that.
Yep.
Next quarter will be better.
Yep.
So I think that was the biggest surprise was realizing that it was okay to not be at peak performance. Yeah.
Shout out to Thunder Dan.
Yeah, he's the best.
Sounds like you're going to keep him around a little bit.
I guess so. Yeah.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. You will be officiating our wedding, so pressure's on.
Yeah, the many roles that you play, business owner and ultimately a manager. For you and I was not your manager. I never considered myself your manager. I really consider us to have this great, almost mentorship relationship. And I go back to my own kind of personal definition of mentorship that I share very uniquely with my ultimate mentor, Chuck Pearson. And that is that mentorship is bidirectional. The best mentorships are bidirectional. Yeah. Where it kind of breaks from this idea that mentorships is like you've got somebody that is a senior and someone that's a junior, and the junior is learning from the senior. Mm-hmm. I consider Madison, you and I, to be mentors of each other. I consider our relationship to be very bidirectional. I've learned more from you, both in and outside of Thoughteum, than I could have ever imagined. Yeah. And I know that you've learned a lot here as well too. And so I'm honored to be considered a mentor in that definition of the terms. I'm also honored to be officiating your wedding, which is super cool.
I do think it's funny. 3 years ago, I was a LinkedIn applicant to Thoughteum, and now I'm totally interwoven.
You can't get away. We are literally right above you.
Yes, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your perspective. Thank you for your mentorship as well too, and thanks for being a part of the community. We're just thrilled. This is one of those things that Thoughteum, we're a small firm here in Chicago, but we've had some incredible people that have joined and been a part of this family. And folks like Madison really are a perfect example of folks that come in, provide a huge impact, and go on and do some incredible things. And as a business leader, that's one of the most gratifying things in the world, is to see that happen. So congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. And also kudos to the Thoughteum team. When you have incredible people working for you, sometimes they are going to spin off and do their own thing. And being able to support people with their passions. When I talk about my journey to starting Madberet, Thoughteum is a part of that story and the people here. So I just think it's so special to not only have had the support, but ongoing support in this new chapter when I am able to be full-time with Madberet, that you all just continue to support me and to cheer me on. And I know that y'all are here for me.
Absolutely.
So it's really special to build that in your team.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, this won't be the last time that you're on the show.
Yes.
But thank you for being here. We want to thank everybody for joining. This was a pretty incredible episode. Anytime you can sit with somebody that means so much to you and your community, it really, really is special. So we really appreciate everybody joining. We go live every Thursday at 3:00. We will be here next Thursday at 3:00. You can find all previous episodes at thoughteum.com/live. We hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and an incredible weekend. So long.